I know together we can do more than survive. It's our time to thrive.
What's a Supreme?
You're looking at her.
That's right, Cordelia Goode, formerly Cordelia Foxx, is the current reigning Supreme of the Coven of Salem descendants. But she's also made her return to American Horror Story as the world has seemingly come to its end on Apocalypse.
Find our sisters.
Hey, I'm Ryan, and it's likely been some time since you watched Coven, so we wanted to give you a quick refresher on everything you need to know about Cordelia Goode. But first, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our American Horror Story coverage. We do weekly breakdowns the day after each episode airs. Cordelia Foxx is played by AHS legend Sarah Paulson, and she is the headmistress of Miss Robichaux's Academy for Exceptional Young Ladies. For you Marvel fans, think of this kind of like Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. This particular coven originated in Salem, Massachusetts, but in order to ensure its survival during the Salem witch trials of 1692, the coven fled south in covered wagons, away from the persecution of the court of Oyer and Terminer. Cordelia is the daughter of the former Supreme, Fiona Goode. Despite the relation, these two couldn't be more different from one another. Cordelia was always more concerned about the ladies she was caring for instead of her own well-being. The same could not be said about her mother, who did everything she could to stay in power, including murder. Actually, multiple murders. During Cordelia's birth, Fiona did mention that she felt as if her power was weakened. For years, Fiona worried that Cordelia was meant to be the next Supreme, and she was right. Throughout the course of Season 3, we find out how that comes to be. We first met Cordelia back in Episode 1 of Coven, when Zoe Benson was sent to her new home in New Orleans. See, Zoe had horrifically discovered that she too was gifted. We won't show it here, but basically, Zoe should never have sex.
I don't want to hurt you.
I'll be okay.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Coincidentally, Fiona also returned to the school at the time because she heard that a witch was recently murdered. Misty Day had been living in the nearby swamps and was burned alive. But Fiona spent most of her time in New Orleans throwing shade at her daughter and at war with voodoo queen Marie Laveau, as well as seeking eternal life. Soon we're introduced to Cordelia's husband, Hank Foxx. The two have been unsuccessful in trying to conceive their first child, and after their latest doctor's visit, they decide to try some dark magic, which includes some large eggs, black salt, blood, snakes, and fire on the floor sex. That still doesn't work, and as a last-ditch effort, Cordelia visits Marie Laveau begging for her voodoo help. But Marie mockingly declines Cordelia's plea for assistance.
Ain't gonna do no poach-up medicine on you. Not for 50,000, not for 100,000. You were born into the wrong tribe. You the daughter of my sworn enemy.
To make matters worse for Cordelia, we find out that her husband is one horrible human being. He's been having an affair behind her back, and as we later find out, he's actually part of a secret witch-hunting organization. It was that same organization, the Delphi Institute, that would orchestrate an acid attack on Cordelia. They planned for a blind Cordelia to become more dependent on Hank so that they can then wipe out the entire coven. Unfortunately, this completely backfired on them. Needless to say, this was grounds for divorce. So long, Cordelia Foxx, and hello, Cordelia Goode.
Now get out of here. Get out!
Baby, you're my heart.
And get out while you still can, Jughead.
Sure, Cordelia was horrifically scarred and blinded by the sulfuric acid attack, but she gained the power of the sight and was able to have visions of the truth. This is ultimately how she found out about her husband's infidelities and that Fiona had murdered Madison, framing Myrtle for the murder, which then led to Myrtle's execution. After Myrtle's resurrection, she helped Cordelia get a new pair of eyes. All it took was a melon baller. Following all these events, Cordelia vowed to stop her mother once and for all. She orchestrates a plan for Fiona to take her own life, but this plan falls through as Cordelia needs her mother's help in order to take on the witch hunters. As it turns out, Cordelia wasn't a huge fan of her new eyes because she lost the power of the sight. Adding to even more eyeball violence, Cordelia uses her gardening shears to blind herself again. With her powers restored, she has a vision of Fiona killing all the potential Supremes and Cordelia herself. At one point, Zoe successfully summons the Axeman, and after a run-in with the Coven witches, he takes particular interest in Fiona. He actually wanted to run away with her to France, but it's revealed to him that Fiona will leave him after she kills the Supreme. Fiona then implants a vision of the Axeman killing her so that Cordelia and the witches would believe she's dead. The remaining witches, Misty, Queenie, Madison, and Zoe, must attempt the 7 wonders to determine the new Supreme. The test takes the lives of Misty and Zoe, and angry Kyle kills Madison for refusing to bring Zoe back to life. But then Cordelia resurrects Zoe, proving that she had been the Rising Supreme this whole time.
Behold, the one true Supreme.
Now, differing from the past, Cordelia runs the Coven with openness and reaches out to any and all young witches around the world who might need her help. She even provides her own email address. By the way, Cordelia, I'm still waiting to hear back from you. Myrtle then demands that she must pay for her own sins, so she's subsequently burned at the stake again. This is extremely difficult for Cordelia because Myrtle was more of a motherly figure than Fiona ever was. As it turns out, Fiona wasn't killed by the Axeman. She eventually returns to the academy to confront her daughter. Fiona, near the end of her life, begs Cordelia to help her, but she refuses, telling her mom that no one can help her move on and she must let go. Fittingly, Fiona dies in her daughter's arms. And finally, with her passing, Cordelia officially becomes the Coven Supreme. Season 3 then ended with Cordelia addressing a room full of young witches in their new home. That wasn't the last we heard of Cordelia Goode. In fact, her name popped up in 2015's Hotel. In episode 11, we find out that Queenie wins a ticket to The Price is Right, and it turns out that Cordelia was the one who enchanted that very ticket.
Well, I hope you get called to come on down.
That's actually guaranteed between you and me. My Supreme did a little something something to my ticket, so it's enchanted.
Now, surprisingly unbeknownst to Cordelia, Queenie's trip out to LA would ultimately end with her quickly dying at Hotel Cortez. As for Cordelia's abilities, well, Supremes are the most powerful witches of all. Cordelia has mastered all 7 of the wonders. Those include telekinesis, concilium, transmutation, descensum, vitalum vitalis, divination, and pyrokinesis. In addition to these abilities, Cordelia has the power of the sight, as we saw throughout Season 3. She literally sees the truth. She's also a master of spellcraft and potion craft, spending much of her downtime concocting varying recipes in her garden. So far, it seems that Cordelia and the Coven Witches are also immune to any type of radiation, as we saw them freely walking into Outpost 3, despite the toxic conditions outside. This could ultimately be some sort of protection spell. Let's end with some fun facts about Cordelia Goode. Sorry, Buffy fans, she was not named after Cordelia Chase.
Cordelia! God! What is your childhood trauma?
According to executive producer Tim Minear, she was actually based off the youngest daughter of William Shakespeare's King Lear. Fittingly, that story also revolves around the complicated power dynamic between parent and child. Now, becoming a Supreme is not linked through one's lineage. It's not like passing down one's genes. Having said that, Cordelia is the only known Supreme to be biologically related to a former Supreme. Cordelia is also the only known witch to still be alive without being resurrected. Every other witch we've seen was brought back in some way thanks to Misty Day or another Supreme who possessed the gift of resurgence. And I'll leave you with this, Cordelia Goode is the only known witch to not kill anyone. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite moment is from Cordelia Goode's time on American Horror Story. Also, if there are any more characters you want us to break down in these deep dives, hit me up in the comments or on Twitter at RyanEricP and let me know. We'll see you next time.